morning, everyone. Okay, it's working. We're here for a public forum. I've got 8:31 on Monday, May 22nd. We're here just for public forum from 8:30 to 9:30. Just as a reminder, if you have a cell phone or electronic device, if you'll please put on silent or vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. Public forum is an opportunity for the public to come out and speak on any topic that they wish to speak on. If you're interested in speaking on something that is on today's board meeting agenda, which will begin at 9:30, you could certainly do so during public forum, but you'll forfeit your opportunity to speak on the agenda. All speakers are given 4 minutes to say whatever they'd like to say. When you walk up to the podium, if you'll just push the button to speak, and so the microphone comes on, and give your name and address for the record. Up first, we've got Larry Sessions.
Larry Sessions, 1138 Park Lane. I'm here to support Coastland Drive's proposal to keep the 11 acres south of the Tiger Point restaurant in a recreation area. I live in a neighborhood, San Rosa Shore, that we surround that area, and we originally intended on having homes that butted up to a golf course. There's a golf course, that part of the golf course, which is the old West course, is gone now. That's been divided up into 4 parcels. School board bought one parcel. One parcel is a spray field. The right side of Bayview Lane is it's already a peat. Undeveloped is going to have 68 townhouses in it. If there's going to be a school going, and there's already 25 new homes built where the old driving course used to be, traffic is becoming a serious problem. The development in our roads are fairly narrow, and being able to accommodate additional traffic becomes more and more of a problem. I was uninformed when I wrote my letter that it's already zoned as a PDU, but the fact is, if the development, if it does occur, we, the homeowners around there, would like it to be as minimal as possible. And meaning that recreation would be great, Park 3 golf course, basketball course, football fields, etc. But if that doesn't happen, at least keep it down to single family homes, which would again add additional traffic in our area, which is not something we're looking forward to. I had given a letter to most of the people here. Let me go ahead and give one to Sam. And I apologize for that. And if anything could be done to keep the land use in that remaining 11 acres, which is the last section of the old golf course that hadn't been repositioned into another use, we would certainly appreciate that. So that's basically what I came to say, and the other issues that are in my letter speak for themselves. Thank you, and I hope you'll give that some serious consideration.
Thank you, sir. Up next, Chris Kerb.
Good morning. Chris Kerb, Flood Defenders. I like dreams of the future better than history of the past. Thomas Jefferson said that. And basically what that says to me is you learn from your past and you have a vision for the future. Presenting testimony in 2 and 4 minute increments can be challenging from an advocacy perspective. And sometimes I may be misunderstood. That actually happened to me last Thursday in Escambia County. But my intentions are simply to make flooding a higher priority for the Panhandle municipalities, help our members and help our local people. I do align, or try my best to align my flood defenders' work with the local level, at a local level with the American Flood Coalition. And there's a blog that I'll send you a link on, and basically it's federal flood zone maps do not accurately present flood risk. And we know that. There was a report done by the Healthy Gulf, Christian Wagley. And it says from y'all's damage assessments, there were 44% of reported flood damage was outside the flood insurance special hazard zones, flood insurance rate maps. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, it means we're not doing something outside our flood-prone areas. Santa Rosa County has done something that I've asked Escambia County to do, is y'all have a stormwater problem area on your GIS map, and that's available to the public, and that helps supplement your, I guess, so to speak, your flood insurance rate maps. It helps people know that, hey, if I buy a piece of property in here, I might flood. That's a good thing. Hope Escambia County can do that, and you also have the ability, your county engineer in those areas, to have a little stricter code requirement. The point I'm getting to is getting your basin study information, your drainage inventory, all that into your GIS format should be a priority goal to you. And the reason that helps you is when they do these map updates, you can turn that data into basin study information and help them get those maps right. Because there's nothing worse than somebody buying a piece of property and doesn't have flood insurance and then it floods. I recommend that you draft up some basin study guidelines. You already have a budget for $100,000 a year for drainage inventory. So if you had some basin study guidelines, so that information, when you do drainage analysis or you do subdivisions, you have as-built reports, that you get that information in such a way that it can be easily put into your GIS format. Escambia County has a basin study guidelines specification manual, and that'll help you. So I don't know if y'all have one, but I know you have a watershed management plan that you're working on. That's on your agenda today. And I hope that information comes to you in a GIS transferable format. And I've probably been over my 4 minutes. I didn't say a clock, but 30 seconds. So how drainage inventory and basin study data is presented and made easily available to the public. Permit staff is important in setting policies to improve upon the weak flood insurance rate maps is probably a very good goal, which y'all have already started. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Jim Doyle?
Good morning, Jim Doyle, 308 Plantation Hill Road in Gulf Breeze. I listened to the March 20th short discussion, just 10 minutes, on the internet. Mr. Lowe from the county gave me a link to it. He was very helpful, by the way. And it had to do with the aquatic center. And it wasn't completely clear about the agreement with Gulf Breeze City. So my question is, does the county and the city, do they have a written agreement with each other where the city will pay the county $20,000 that was mentioned in the video to do a feasibility study for an aquatic center anywhere in the county? Do you have it approved? And did you receive something from the city council that was approved to pay the county that money?
I can answer that for you. We have no formal agreement with the city at this time, but the city did come up. City manager spoke to me and said that council would support $20,000 towards a feasibility study.
Okay. Be very careful dealing with the city of Gulf Breeze, anything verbal. The people in Tiger Point will tell you that. They get verbal promises from the city manager some years ago, and it turned out they believed everything that was told to them, and nothing came out like they expected. And I've lived there 25 years, and I understand the situation. So I would recommend that the county definitely get things in writing from the city. Now, secondly, a lot of us in the city would like a swimming pool, the aquatic center, if you will. We have a website called GulfBreezeSwimmingPool.com and GulfBreezeSwimmingPool.org. And you can see the possible locations in the city, not in the county, because we're city residents, of where we would put it in our city. And there are various arrangements from small pools to big Olympic pools, for your information. That was pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for clarifying this.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anybody else signed up on the sheet. Would anybody else? Mr. Cooey?
Jerry Cooey, Milton, Florida. The issue on Soundside Drive, where the clay was put in, I didn't have a whole lot of details. Has there been any update on that? DEP was supposedly looking at it.
I'll have to get you an update. I'm not sure what's happened out there, but I know DEP and our code enforcement were both working on that issue. But I'll get you some
Okay,
details.
all right, appreciate it. As I've said many times before, this is another circumstance of death by 1,000 cuts. You know, why was clay put there? It's always interesting to me that it's Friday afternoon or Saturday when these things occur. If you had the legal right to do something like that, you know, why is it on a weekend? You know, it raises it up a little bit to me to wonder, you know, why do things happen that way if you're not trying to keep it away? I know we've stepped up code enforcement. I appreciate that. DEP has handed out some fines, but as I understand this situation here, 4 loads of red clay went on a drainage ditch to level it off. And I hope that you all 5 will dig into that and take a look at it. As Chris Kerb has said many times, you know, every avenue that we have to control and protect our homeowners from flooding, that didn't seem like a very good situation. And did they have the authority? And we have to stay vigilant on that. It just always concerns me, as Mr. Cook did one time out on a 7 o'clock at night while the pump's running. Air Oak subdivision on the weekend, the pumps are running, doing illicit discharges, pumping out holding ponds. I want you all to be vigilant and aware of it and take the hammer that you have in your hand and take advantage of that. This environment belongs to all of us, and please be stronger on events such as that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to speak during public forum? Anybody else? No, you've already spoke once, sir. Anybody else wish to speak? All right, in that case, we'll conclude public forum and we'll begin the regular county or the committee meeting at 9:30 a.m. Good morning, everybody. I've got 9:30 a.m. on Monday, May 22nd. We're here for the Commissioner Committee meeting. As always, we start our meetings with prayer and a pledge. I'll just remind everyone, if you have an electronic device, please silence it or put it on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. I'm going to ask Commissioner Calkins to lead us in prayer and Commissioner Smith to lead us in the pledge. If you'll please stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please bow your heads. Lord, we want to thank you so much for being able to live and prosper in the greatest county, the greatest state, and the greatest country in the world. We ask you to be with our employees, our military, our police officers, and all the other folks in this county, state, and country. Lord, guide us and lead us in the right direction and give us wisdom in making decisions for the people of Santa Rosa County. We thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in our pledge to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bear with me. I came back from a recent trip, and I've got some sinus issues from flying on the plane, so I apologize if I have a bit of a coughing fit this morning. Up next, we've got agenda approval. I'll start to my right with Commissioner Smith. Are there any changes, sir?
No changes, sir.
No changes, Mr. Chairman. I would just ask for, I guess you'd technically say like a commissioner item, maybe at the very end of the meeting, like a 3-minute brief discussion, but it's nothing that needs to hold up the agenda.
Okay.
No changes, Mr. Chairman, but on commissioner items, I just want to, make a statement about certain things that could be upcoming.
Okay.
No changes, sir.
All right, so we'll accept the agenda as presented. Up next, discussion and approval of meeting minutes from the April 13th regular meeting. Are there any changes? I trust you guys have all reviewed those. Any changes or concerns? All right, we'll move those minutes for approval without objection. County Administrator, County Attorney, any updates? All right, on to commissioner items. Commissioner Parker, you want to handle that now, or you just want to do it at the end of the meeting? Okay, that'll be fine. I'll bring up something just briefly. I know 2 weeks ago I brought up the possibility of assuming a contract on purchase of roughly 11 acres here at Tiger Point for the county to assume that contract. I appreciate everyone taking some time to consider that. Only thing I would ask from the board at this time is if you guys would consider the county going out for an appraisal on that property, so we could actually determine what that property is actually worth and whether that's something we would want to pursue. So,
Mr. Chairman, my comments are fully support getting an appraisal done. I would ask for specific directions, which we're allowed to do. Obviously, if you hire an appraisal, that you ask the appraiser to evaluate the feasibility of, and it's a cursory, mainly based on dimensional and zoning, the ability of what he thinks could be built there under highest and best use when he appraises it, because I have not looked any further since that meeting, but I do have questions of, we've seen emails for people who don't want multi-story family housing, and I question the feasibility of could that be done with the proximity to the stormwater pond and the property lines. So just that way, when he takes that into account while he's already going to be researching it and he brings it back to us, we know a pretty thorough assessment based on a professional of what could be put there, because when he appraises it, I'm sure that'll be highest and best. But fully support, I think that is par for the course for any time we're considering doing a property acquisition, and I believe that other commissioners have actually even engaged staff in doing that on other items as well, so I appreciate it.
yeah, I would agree. I think for us to make an informed decision, I think that's certainly the way to go. Anybody else?
Commissioner.
Concern?
Chairman, I got two things I want to bring up before the board.
All right, well, Mr. Eddington, just before we just want to make sure, did you have anything to say before? Okay. In that case, it looks like we've got some clear direction from the board. If you'll look at getting an appraisal and with the appraisal on the actual value of the property, also look at what the opportunities would be and the feasibility of doing the different types of development that have been proposed there. All right.
I
Commissioner.
got two things I want to bring up before the board. I want to do a P&E study of the new bridge I want to put across at the beach. But I hope y'all will go along with me, try to get it approved for a study. I know it's quite a bit of money, but we need a new bridge across 87th to the beach. And I appreciate y'all backing me on all this, if you don't mind. And the other thing I want to bring up, I talked to a gentleman Friday in my office about a thing y'all done last year about SA program. The county, Mr. Parker, you and Mr. Cochran was all on board. I'd like for this gentleman to come up and talk to us about it so we could talk back, answer some questions if he had them. He should have been at the first one, but I thought it would be better so we can answer some questions. And if we had a question, we could talk to him about it, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Bill, would you like to come up?
My name is Bill Marquardt, 4482 Casa Grande Drive, East Milton, Florida. I'm president of the Santa Rosa Republican Club and also a member of the executive committee. But last year, we had our first constitutional essay contest. And it was well received to the point that I think Bob Cole was so inspired, he made Constitutional Week in September. And last year we got $1,500 in matching funds. We had $1,500. The county came up with another $1,500, and we're asking for the same thing this year. We've already we graded everything, and we had actually a bigger, we had a bigger turnout this year than last year. We would like to continue it, for as long as we can. But we have. We have actually more contestants this year, and there'll be more cash. Although we've done some raising privately, but I'm asking if you can do the same thing that you did last year, of $1,500, which would match our initial cash prizes.
No, well, that did they do the whole board approved that last year?
I believe it did. I was there, but I don't remember. And I know Bob Cole was very impressed with the program.
Well, I would like for the board to be on board with that this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's doing something for the kids.
Yes.
And I'm all for helping kids in Santa Rosa County. I don't care what it is. If it's something for the kids to improve for them, we need to get on board to help these kids do the right thing.
Thank you. I might add, too, the National Teachers Union, there's a movement to take the Constitution, out of the curriculum, and I think this is one way that we can fight back here anyway.
Commissioner Eddington, I certainly support the essay program. I thought last year it went very well, and I certainly support the effort to put some money in that to help reward these children for putting those essays together and taking the time to look at the Constitution. We talked about it numerous times about how civics is not nearly as it's certainly important, but it hasn't been a focus in our school system to the level I think it should. So I certainly support it. Did you have a motion you wanted to make, or?
I want to make a motion pass for us to help them with it.
You want to put that on Thursday's agenda?
Yes, sir. Thursday agenda without rejection.
All right. We'll put that up. We'll put that up for a vote. Commissioner Smith.
Oh, I was just going to expound upon what Bill was talking about. I know that these young people that were engaged in this competition, they even expressed how much they learned from the competition. So anything that we can do to encourage reading the Constitution, which was a which was it was a requirement when I was a youngster, but I don't think it is anymore. But that being said, I'm in full support of Commissioner Eddington's motion, so.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, just for context, last year, each of the commissioners pledged from their discretionary funds, or however y'all want to do it this year.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. If you'll just get with staff and put that together for Thursday's agenda. Like we just do the same thing we did last year.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Commissioner Calkins.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
There was a P&J article just came out recently related to impact taxes, and I just want to remind everyone, I know that we got a lot of discussion regarding the land development code, but I want to remind everyone that this board went down that path before I got on there, and they voted unanimously to impose impact taxes. And there was a judge who's a patriot, by the way, Judge Dickey. She actually wrote in her injunction, this is her quote, almost 250 years ago, a lot of tea was thrown into the harbor as a revolt against government taxing authorities. Dickey wrote, the court finds a plaintiff's interest to be free from unlawful taxation is deeply rooted in the history and tradition to extent it should be recognized as a right worthy of protection in a temporary injunction. So what I'm asking this board is to keep that in mind on any future proposals to tax our business community, and that's all I want to mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Calkins. Any other commissioner items at this time?
Yes, sir. Yes, as Commissioner Calkins was alluding to, the article that came out in the P&J, we have received the study back. I think every one of us have a copy of the study, and I'm going to encourage everyone to read this study. It's not big. That's it right there. It's really easy to read. Just like I was talking to Mr. Curb, it's of course it's into the inexact science of traffic. Of course, water's a little more black and white. Traffic's a little grayer. We don't, but it was kind of fun over the weekend to dig into it and try to crack the code, but it's not something that God gave me that gift. I'll leave that up to the professionals. But I also want to encourage everybody to dig into it and to ask the questions of the proper people within staff to get a better gear. I do want to caution Commissioner Calkins on one thing. What that last impact fee had nothing to do with this board. That was a school board. So it was.
That was this board. That was this board.
Okay. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Thank you, sir. All right, up next, we've got a proclamation for EMS Week. Let's see, we've got a couple of our folks from Lifeguard here today, and I see Tom standing in the back there. Push the buttons.
How about now?
That's perfect.
All right, there we go. I thought I saw a light
You're
on.
on the recording.
Understood. I'm Jason Rogers. I am the chief of Lifeguard EMS here in Santa Rosa County, and this is Captain Vess. She's our operations supervisor. So we appreciate you recognizing the great work that's done here in Santa Rosa County.
Well, thank you for being here. We'll read this proclamation. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Rosa County does hereby proclaim the week of May 21 through 27, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week in Santa Rosa County, Florida, with a theme, Where Emergency Care Begins. The board encourages the community to observe this week with the appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities passed and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners this 22nd day of May 2023 and signed by myself, the chairman. Thank you so much for what you folks do. I think we see people tell, firefighters and police officers thank you for their service, and I know many times I've been in a restaurant where someone pays for a deputy's lunch. But I think there's a number of people out there that don't realize the vast role you guys have and the weight that bears. Folks oftentimes meet you when they're at their worst, right? The worst circumstance of their life, when they're either dying or in severe pain, or it's one of their loved ones. And I know that the job you have is not easy. I know there's a lot of emotional wear and tear on you as well, in addition to physical scars. And I appreciate what you guys do, and I know that everybody does.
Yeah, thank you very much. It truly is a team effort and includes the deputies and the firefighters and the doctors and nurses. And this week's been planned. Captain Vest has done a great job, and we've got a lot of activities that includes all our partners as well, to recognize all the first responders that we work with, including meals and games and some rewards for the people that serve the community. So we appreciate that recognition.
Mr. Parker?
Yeah, I just I hope you will carry back to the folks this board's deepest sense of appreciation for what they do. Just this morning, as we were riding in on talk radio, they were talking about the national shortage and difficulties with doctors. We've been hearing for years from lifeguard staff about your difficulties in recruiting and retention, and I know that COVID exacerbated that. I know firsthand some folks that got out of the medical services field because they were overwhelmed and overworked. I would just encourage you, I know even though that I believe we're only about 1 year into the new agreement, that if you see that there's something our board needs to do to adjust that with y'all, I encourage you to at least come and have that discussion with our board or our staff offline, because I've said it kind of jokingly, sometimes when I relate to the past, but you can you can carry a gun on your side and really mitigate most of the reasons you'd ever have to call a cop. But when you're in a bad car accident, and you're needing fire to get there and extract you, or you are harmed and you need medic services, and I can tell you firsthand, as being the guy that's had to call for other deputies and other deputies call for me, to get EMS, when you're loaded in the back of an ambulance, there's no peace that comes like knowing, thank God, like somebody's here that can fix me and patch this hole up. And we just really appreciate you, and I wanted to take the time to encourage you that if you see where that relationship needs to continue to evolve for us to help you with that retention and recruiting, please come, because I have heard from residents, and sometimes when you hear it's the negative side of, and a lot of it is the standalone ERs and transport times, but our residents need you. Especially, we have an aging population, and even a lot of the folks moving here that are retiring. And so I agree with what the chairman said wholeheartedly. The medical, especially the emergency medical service division, I don't think gets the public credit that when you hear about first responders, a lot of people think law enforcement or firefighters. So just please, if we can help with your mission to provide that for our citizens, let us know, and you'll at least have my support.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much, and let me reassure you, working with Tom Lloyd and Scott at Dispatch and Brad, those conversations are ongoing, and so it's been a great relationship that I've stepped into, and we certainly plan on continuing that. And so those conversations are constantly in motion. So we appreciate that.
And especially dispatchers, y'all go through a lot of stress. I know you do. I've been there. I think Mr. Baker and Mr. Mann here, they've been there also. And it means a lot when we thank these people. It did me when I was a dispatcher, when I worked on the ambulance, when I got my EMT. It meant a lot when the people said, thank you. And we need to thank these people and help them in any way we can. You don't know how much stress it is on these people. If you don't think they're stressed, take the job and find out for yourself. There is stress. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Brad.
Mr. Chairman, I would let you know that we're going to do a short presentation on Thursday. We want to do this proclamation today because it kicks off EMS week and they have a lot of events scheduled. But